Liquorland are proud partners of the Sash for another season of footy. Liquorland have all your drink needs for when the siren calls. Ryan, Sunday afternoon, maybe by the fire. What's the go?
Had some Brookvale Unions during the game this week. Have you heard of them?
I have not. I haven't
some
had one
pretty
of
good
those.
flavours, but on the lemon, lime and bitters ones.
Ooh, I am partial to lemon lime bitters.
With a bit of vodka.
Bit of vodka, just a little bit.
No, hit the
delish.
spot. Yeah.
Can, bottle?
Can.
I like that. Pop into your local Liquorland today and pick up all your favourite drinks. Liquorland, from the land you love. Please drink responsibly. A hot start in Adelaide. Ridley gets sniped. Port fight back, but we can't pull off the heist. This is The Sash, definitely not the official podcast of the Essendon Football Club. I'm your host, Rob, here with you, and joining me in studio is Mert and Ryan. Ryan, how you going?
Stock standard Sunday yesterday, wasn't it?
Yeah, a little bit. Familiar feeling?
Very familiar. Very, very familiar.
Merty, how are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm not bad, Rob. It's obviously disappointing to come away with a loss, but look, I think all things considered, we're actually tracking along okay. Like, I think we could have and would have loved to have taken one of those, one of the last three as a win. Geelong game was no chance, but obviously the Pies, and then on the weekend as well, I think we stuck in there and could have really, very easily stolen a win. So if you look at Port's side and you look at their outs, they didn't have Orazio, who's just never going to play.
Ever.
And they didn't have Xavier Dersma.
Yeah.
And you compare that to our outs, including, as you said in the intro, Ridley going down, then I think, like, when all's considered, we've done really well there.
Yeah.
I think the scoreline flattered us in the end, but I think there's plenty to build on. And if you look at our run home from Dreamtime onwards, I've got us, touch wood, obviously, but I've got us winning a lot of those games. Won't beat Geelong in Geelong, obviously. And there's another couple there that are a bit iffy, but we've got a much easier run home. So I think we're really well placed given where we are in the ladder right now.
Yeah, and I guess we've been in every game. Like, people might argue that Geelong...
Probably not Geelong.
Geelong kind of held us off, but there was a moment there that we sort of were, but...
Our kicking straight kept us in the game, and it's the same as yesterday as well.
Yeah, but we've been in all these games. There's like, there hasn't really been a point where I felt like we've just been wiped completely. Our biggest loss is 28 points, which if you compare to last couple of seasons in particular, like, it's apples and oranges.
Yeah.
So
just our
we are
percentage being 108 now is just significantly better than we really have been for fucking ages.
It was probably like 72% last, or 60s last year.
But on that, like last year, if we had played this game last year, at half time we would have just melted.
Yeah.
We would have lost by 10 goals.
Yeah, definitely.
I think the same can be said with Geelong. Like, at least we kind of stuck in there, and yes, we got a couple of gimme goals at the end that made it look better, but we stuck in there.
Yep.
Same with St Kilda. Like, we came in, we were even with about 10 minutes to go, and then they blew us away.
Yeah.
We've been in all of these games, so I think that's a real positive. We've shown huge improvement. That being said, obviously, it would just be great to have snuck in at least one or two of those and be kind of building a bit of a, one, a bit of confidence, but two, a bit of that win at the death type competitiveness or competingness, as Paco says. I just love that quote so much. I have to keep bringing it out. A bit of that competingness at the end, so that we are kind of building towards the future and ensuring we're getting ahead of the final siren.
You're right though, regarding confidence. Really hope that the players aren't losing confidence over this 3-week span. Should really be building, because as you did say, I did the same thing when I got home last night. Pulled up the fixture and went through, and there's some nice games there. So we can definitely win a few of those and definitely be knocking on the door come the latter end of the year.
Yeah. Let's start with the first quarter, because obviously plenty to pick apart from the game and goods and bads. But
First quarter was good.
yeah, it was nice to see us fly out of the blocks because we've had a few slow starts this season. Some really poor, some okay ones, but we hit the ground running and showed how much of a weapon our midfield is at that centre bounce. Particularly what Sam Draper can do, what Paco does in there, and then obviously guys like Parrish, Merrett, Shield as well, rolling through there. And yeah, I know we didn't get the win, but gee, we look good in an area that a couple of years ago we were really pouring.
It was a big contrast to the previous week, really. Our hit-outs to advantage were horrible against Geelong, and I think all of them went to Dangerfield, like the first 6 did. But I think we won the first 8 clearances at the centre bounce. Paco's strength looked just absolutely dominant in there, getting it out to the runners. So it was really positive to see. But, I mean, 1 week of football, we need that to be happening every week. We need to be winning games, but it's a good start.
Yeah, exactly. I thought Sam was excellent going up against young Teakle. Obviously, they mixed it around a bit when they brought Finlayson in there, but really, really dominant from him to get us first hands on the ball, get first use, get that opportunity. We know how valuable it is to score goals out of there, 666, all that, yada yada yada. And it's an area of the game that we're really excelling at the moment. But there are obviously a lot of other issues as well. Port just took control in the second quarter. They pinned us in. I do wonder how the game would have looked if they'd straightened up, because while yes, they did control the game, if they do kick a goal, it comes back to the centre bounce, which was the one area that seemed like we were like, all right, this is where we can win it.
Yeah.
So I do wonder how much that would have changed the game, in that we would have been able to at least get it forward. If they rebound it the whole length of the ground, sure, that could happen. But I do wonder if the game, the stats would have padded so heavily towards them if they'd straightened up, because anyone who just looks at that and goes, oh, they kicked 20 behinds. Well, clearly they were the dominant team. Look, they were the better team, but I'm not sure if it would have skewed so heavily if we'd had the opportunity to actually win it there at the coalface where we were better. So yeah, that was just a point I had on that. What did you make of it, Mert?
Yeah, I thought just on that kind of midfield battle and the balance in particular, I think we're really kind of struggling. Like, I know we had good numbers and we were dominant in there on the weekend, and we have been at other times this season. Third quarter against Collingwood, we absolutely mauled them and then put Paco at full forward, so that stopped pretty quickly. I think, and I guess following on from that, I think we're really struggling to find that balance, because we saw Setterfield started off this season incredibly well, and he was, attending every centre bounce more or less. He was playing on a wing largely this week, which is clearly not his position. Shield was playing on a half forward flank and even at centre half forward at times in the traditional Elwyn Davey senior role.
Yep.
And he can't compete in the air. Like, it's just not his game. His strength is over the ball, around the ball, impacts. He's actually one of our best ball winners. And he's got explosive pace as well. And like, we saw his strength as well in the contest. So like, we know he can use that. He can't do it in the air. So we, a number of times in that second half, we lost out because we just kicked to centre half forward and we had a bunch of smalls there. We clearly haven't got that midfield balance right. I'd like to see Archie's stats for centre bounce attendances this year. He might be,
eight total.
8. Okay, there you go.
3% of total. It was in 14% against Port, 10% against Geelong, and then he didn't attend one prior to that. So they're starting to phase him in, it seems.
Yeah. So, and then you look at someone like Hobbsy, he's clearly seen as someone who's much more of a centre bounce attendee. So they haven't got the balance right to date. I'd like to see, as much as Archie's also kicking goals, I'd like to see him through there more. I think Setterfield needs to be in there a lot.
Yeah.
And I think probably they just need to rotate more.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I earlier in the season, I mean, it was hard not to like what they were doing because they were playing so well.
Yeah.
Setterfield, Merrett, Parrish, Shield, it was great. I think we do underestimate what the absence of Sam Durham had in this game. Whilst he's had a couple of really good games this season, he's a bona fide winger. And without him in the team, we kind of didn't really have anyone else to play that role, which is why they were like, oh, let's see if Setterfield can do it. Having watched that game, I'll say no. Setterfield's not a winger. Either put him in the guts, maybe push him forward because he's a big guy, probably can take a grab and has kicked a few goals this season as well. But I'm with you, Mert. I'd rather see him at the centre stoppage and then he's just about finding that balance with those other guys there. I do like seeing Hobbs there. I've actually quite liked the way he's attacked the ball over the last few weeks.
He's clearly a midfielder.
Yeah,
I think he looked really good yesterday.
Yeah, like he doesn't have the polish that say a Perkins or a Caldwell has at the moment, but he's just feral at the ball, and that's just what you want. You want guys who've got a bit of grunt.
I don't think he's far off Caldwell in terms of polish. Like he seems to actually finish quite well, certainly in front of goals.
Yeah, he did kick a very good one.
Great finish.
I think their hands are probably similar. Like I'm not sure as a second year player, Hobbs he's not going to have, although he is a monster of a kid, he's not going to have the same kind of size and aggression or probably the same aggression, but not the same size certainly as what Caldwell will have with a few more years on him. But I mean, Caldwell's another one who's really missing out through those rotations. Like he's just never in the guts.
Yeah, I think he might have attended one for Port Adelaide, but I mean, there is an argument here that potentially that we have too many of these type players. Which is something that we discussed last year quite a fair bit. When we were really poor in the midfield, we were sort of like, oh, we want this guy there, but we also want this guy, and you can't have all of them there. Like someone's got to miss out. Someone's got to play a forward role. Someone might get shafted out to a wing. Someone might not just be in the team. Like we've almost got too many guys that we probably want in this role, as opposed to genuine role players who are a wingman, are a half forward, are a forward pocket. I mean, not really, but we've got plenty of those. But you know what I'm saying? Yeah. We don't really have those role players where you look at some of the other teams and you're like, gee, they've got these guys who, that's just their game. They're going to get their 10, 15, they might kick a goal, but that's what they are. They're half forward. They're not trying to develop them into on bowls. You know what I mean?
So who are you getting rid of?
Oh, I mean, I don't want to get rid of anyone. I mean, we know what the obvious one is with the person with Darcy being out of contract, but I don't want to get rid of him because I think
he's so important.
I think we go backwards for a year or two potentially without him.
Definitely,
because those next crop just probably aren't there yet. But great, we've got a lot of depth there. So if we have injuries, we've got guys who can come in.
I was going to say there's nothing wrong with the depth because now we're all looking at our backline saying who's going to come in. I mean, the backline is depleted, and that's what's causing us to concede a lot of goals and going to be a really big concern for next week's game against Brisbane. So depth is good, forces everyone to be, aware of the situation and training extremely hard and playing as hard as possible. So not a bad thing to have.
I will say, so quickly, Cobbold attended one centre bounce on the weekend, which we love. I played fullback in year 12.
Yeah.
It was in the thirds.
Yep.
But I played. Just give me a call, Adrian. Just call me up. Call me up. If you need someone who's just 6 foot to get monstered by Joe Danaher, get me in. Get me in.
I would have thought Kane Baldwin might be in ahead of you slightly, Rob.
Yeah,
but it'd be good to actually see him get a run because for me, he was the logical replacement, hindsight 2020 and all of that, but he's a logical one to go to Tom Hawkins a couple of weeks ago. He's as close to the size of Tom Hawkins as we do have. So, and has that strength element to his game. So it'll be interesting this week with Brisbane, as you say, Damo. It's a different predicament with obviously Joe Danaher, who I think BZT will probably get, and then Hipwood. And so, it's not really that. It's not a Charlie Dixon type.
No, they're definitely more
mobile.
They're more mobile.
Yeah.
So going to be a challenging one. Back to the game though. And look, we may as well talk about it because it's probably the biggest part of the whole game was losing Ridley with that It was a really strange.
weird.
It was such a strange incident
Still
because
can't figure out if it was intentional.
Definitely
or not.
intentional.
because
You reckon?
Yeah, little rat.
it looked it looks like it looks
100%.
it looks so innocuous on
You
the
don't-
tape, and then suddenly like Ridley takes a step and then he hits the floor. You're like, what just
That's
happened?
that's
there?
kind of the
Yeah.
questionable thing.
Mm.
Well, not the questionable thing, but that's like the most noticeable thing about it. But I'm sorry, you don't just like watch your one of your
Direct opponent.
one of your teammates
Mm.
run past you with a guy hot on his hammer, and then decide to all of a sudden fling your fist out
While jumping
in the
as well.
opposite direction and twirl it around. Like that's not a natural action. It's not a football action, as everyone's saying these days. You don't accidentally just like fling your fist around without intending to hit someone in the head with it.
Yeah.
Like why is your fist that high?
Yeah, it's strange. Like it very easily could have just lowered the body, laid a bump, done a shepherd, done something that everyone does all the time. But it's so bizarre. And
Has he been reported or
straight to the tribunal.
Oh, okay.
I mean, if it's not 3 weeks, then
Mate, you'll get off 100%.
But Ridley, no broken jaw.
no broken jaw,
So maybe
concussion.
just a week
It's
off.
just concussed.
So it'll be a week.
And then
Obviously,
depending how he's going.
yeah, it depends how he's going. Whether it's one that really
Who do we
rattles
play
him.
after Brizzy?
Richmond.
Oh, Richmond.
Richmond. So look, we want him to back. Like he's so important to that side, and Brad Scott said it. Like if you were coming in the game, he said, "Who's the number one guy we can't lose?" I think we all would have said Jordan Ridley.
And then on top of that, Laverde
Paco
playing as well. So
always Paco.
Yeah.
Can Paco play fullback? I don't know.
oh shit, yeah.
He could do anything.
Kick 4 goals from fullback.
He,
mate.
he probably could.
Extremely disappointing. Maybe where we lost the game, but the real place where we lost the game is how fumbly and the lack of execution of a fucking handball rob
Yeah.
is what
I'm
made us
so
lose
sick.
this game.
I'm so sick
It's
of
what
these
made us-
handballs.
It's what made us fall behind fucking Anzac Day and Geelong as well. But if we're going to play a handball game, we're going to have to learn how to handball.
Yeah, it was.
Especially when like
It's just the handballs at the
you'd be
feet.
by yourself and then you'd
Yeah.
fumble it.
Yeah.
Or just like the handballs to Phillips and to Phillips's feet. Why did we keep picking out the ruckman? Like it's just
They used to like it used,
painful.
it used to always be the thing on the radio. Like I mean, particularly for your Triple M style commentary, where like you'll hear the radio and they'll be like, "Oh, and his hand passed it to so and so ruckman. Why'd you do that? Don't give him the ball."
Yeah.
But like you can't bemoan Phillips when like I said, they're handballing it to his knees,
Yeah.
and to his ankles. It's like
I thought Phillips was really good, particularly
Phillips's aggression was
in the last quarter,
unbelievable.
last half. It's his follow-up work, which is great. It's
Yeah.
his tackling. It's his willingness
The
to
intent
actually
was there.
affect the contest. But yeah, those and really like everyone's guilty of it. We for some reason do. I'm sure we train to like move it on in novel ways and different ways. We certainly did under truck, and it's just about kind of getting the ball forward. But at some stage, there has to be a recognition that you need to hit the friggin' target. And when it's how many times have we seen like a clear open release over the top or just past an opposition defender or something, and the handball just misses the target, and then the ball doesn't sit up and it goes out of bounds.
yeah,
Like it
so
happens.
often.
It happens weekly.
yeah. It's
Some of our
Whether
best players who are the
whether it's
worst ones
Heppel,
at doing it.
McGrath.
Merrett does it all the time.
Merrett
Yep,
does it.
yep.
They all do it. Everyone does it. Like this isn't just like single out one person. Like the whole, apart from the guys who only get 5 touches, like the midfield group, the half forwards, the half backs, they're all culpable for it. It's clearly an issue with the way they're playing, whether it's just trying to be too cute, too dinky, or just somehow not knowing how to handball. And I think someone said on the telecast, being like, "Well, if it's a skills issue, you learn that as a junior." And I know that having Dermy and Jared Healy, the 2 absolute fossils commentating, I was like, well, he's not wrong.
Not wrong at
at
all.
this level, you shouldn't be missing those targets. Yes, pressure comes into it, and Port's pressure was great, and I want to touch on that a bit more in a second. But it's like pulling a hair out as a fan, just being
You
like,
you do
It's
the simple
frustrating.
things and you do the simple things well.
yeah, like
Simple.
if someone,
Simple game football.
yeah, if someone tries to do a really good kick where they try to open up the space and it just gets like it just misses or something, I'd be like, well, he tried something quite difficult, he went for it, oh well, it failed, but
No.
just not a guy's 5 meters away from you, even less, and there is a clear path there. There's not someone standing between you, and you just can't give it to him properly.
And away from that, our kicking execution has been absolutely god awful the whole year.
Yeah, hasn't been great. I'll look like I'll
no, it's been like the turnovers have been absolutely god awful.
Well,
particularly from our defensive half.
Well, I like that he's read the run sheet today. This is good. So back half turnovers was what I wanted to bring up. So like I'll read them out. So BCT had 6, Redmond had 6. We'll get to him in a second. McGrath had 5, Kelly had 5. So from 4 guys alone, that's over 20 turnovers coming out of the back half. Yes, there is a credit to Port's forward pressure. They were really good at it.
Yeah.
But generally, back half is where guys usually have a little bit more space to make a good decision. It's why you get games where we're like, oh, wow, this guy went at 100% by 4. It's like, well, he was uncontested the whole game. You know what I mean?
It's pretty unusual that on that point that Kelly would have 5 turnovers because typically he just takes the safest option possible and he keeps quite a high disposal efficiency as a result.
Yeah, but they all went bad. I feel like after having such an awesome start to the year, Redmond's had a pretty, down couple of weeks for his standard.
Maybe he's just getting a little more attention from the opposition.
I mean, maybe he's, thinking about whether or not he's going to stay at the club. I don't know.
Nah, he's staying.
I want him to stay. I think we all do. But clearly there's an issue there. And it's the whole group. You know what? It did hurt. Like, again, losing Ridley again. Generally, one of our better users coming out of the back half. And instead, we're giving the ball to other guys. Excuse me. And we're having these back half turnovers. And this is what weighs into all these other stats of why Port were so dominant, because we just couldn't get it out of our back half. We couldn't find that release kick. We got smashed in contested marks, and it is the real weakness of our team right now. That is, we lack the ability to contested mark, not just forward, but around the ground. Obviously, we're missing, our best contested mark in Peter. But I feel like as well, we just don't have a lot of those players who you can go to as an outlet. These are the games where I go like, man, what could Nick Cox become one day? Is he going to be that? Is he going to be that release player for us where you can go to him? But like, when guys like Miles Bergman are just taking intercept after intercept, you're like, where are our marking players? We just don't have many.
I think seriously missing like an in-form Harry Jones, because he has been that player at times. And yeah, of course.
Weed's been great.
Really decent.
Weed's been great.
Yeah, he's actually taking some contested marks himself as well.
Let's chat about him in a bit more detail when we get to the goods.
Yep.
But
okay.
I think he's been awesome. But like, Dixon had 5 contested marks, Finlayson 4, Bergman 3, Aaliyah 3, and then Langford was our best with 2.
I think there's not much we could do with Dixon. Same thing as Hawkins last week. When you're that big and we're that small, but size-wise and weight-wise, they were always going to...
My issue is the other guys, really.
Yeah,
like Finlayson, Bergman, and Aaliyah. Aaliyah, again.
You can't control him.
Yep. Well, I mean, we kind of did for a lot of the game. They did really well. They did really well on him. But, like you were saying with Shield playing forward meant he doesn't contest marks, and then Bergman's free just to run and jump at the ball.
Yeah, Bergman monstered him.
So it's...
But I think that's also, like, realistically, we need more from our ruckman if we're going to be playing 2 rucks. Like, we need Draper to be flushing, to be a real dominant force on the ground and to be flushing those marks like wherever he can. And if he's not doing it, then we need Phillips to do it. And I think as much as their work around the ground has been really good, and particularly when the ball's on the ground, and that's a point of difference for them, it hasn't been there in the air.
Yeah.
I mean, save for probably the D's game.
It's been good conditions as well for them.
Yeah. They definitely put a lot down. I do want to ask you guys about just the pressure that Port applied. We've seen it a few times now, particularly in that game, very much so in the last quarter against Collingwood, where opposition teams they go to that next level, that finals level pressure where they're just dogged. You don't feel like you've got a meter of space. And right now does not feel like we are up to the ability to handle that sort of pressure. I was trying to dig it up all day. So if you guys want to recall, so Jake Kelly last year got interviewed when, we were getting smashed every single week. And he spoke about how when that pressure comes, good sides can rise to it and deal with it. And I remember him saying, we don't do that. And he said that last year. And for the first patch of this season, I was like, all right, not seeing that. Now that we've played some good sides and we've seen Collingwood go to that level, we've seen Port go to that level. I mean, Geelong kind of did in the first, but they just had the ball anyway. It wasn't really a pressure game. I still feel like when it gets seriously hot in the kitchen, that we don't quite have the level to compose ourselves at times.
It's sort of hard to get that situation into a training, especially with the pressure, the crowd, the noise.
I think it's a leadership thing, though.
But I also think it's going to come over time through experiencing it. And the good thing about it is when a team is putting high pressure on you, once you break through there, there's great opportunity to score against them. So
and we did at times. Like I will say that.
I think we'll be building, and yes, like Collingwood probably the best club at it the last 2 years, and it's obvious because they've won all those games by less than 10 points. So that one's stiff, but I
just come crashing down.
Yeah, geez, that would be nice. But
2 flags in 50 years. Cheers, fellas.
But a team like Port, I feel like we could have potentially broken the mold. But
I think even like back to the Collingwood game again, if Wiedemann had to kick that goal, if Draper had to kick that goal, like particularly Wiedemann's for me, you never know what would have happened. I mean, yes, they've done it before, all that kind of stuff, but like Ash Johnson kicks a goal out of his ass from 50.
Yeah.
Like, you know, free kick should have been given for that Myercheck, Shepherd. Like, there's a number of things there that could have, small things that could have changed the course of the game. And I think probably to a lesser extent with Port, because realistically they had a ton more scoring shots than we did.
Yeah.
But a few things go right and, you know, we've won that game.
I've just remembered that 50-metre penalty that Ray Chamberlain gave.
That didn't make any sense. I didn't understand
They got a goal from.
I didn't understand that.
Oh, that one, yeah.
Was that Nick Martin?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So someone gave away the free and then Nick Martin went to like hold him in for a tackle.
What?
And they got a 50.
What? Yeah.
Oh, and Ray Chamberlain
That's the game.
at the start of the year came out and said that he thinks fans are idiots if they think that umpires influence games through making bad decisions.
He's unusually bad at his job.
Yeah.
Had to start throwing the ball up because he couldn't bounce it. So
yeah, there was a lot of that on the weekend.
He is one of the reasons why you should have ex-footballers umpiring the game.
Yeah. Unfortunately, there are too many rules in our game. I almost reckon they should scrap a bunch of them and let blokes just do whatever they want.
Well, that's Gill and Big Fat Dimitri's legacy, isn't it?
Yeah. Thank you, Andrew. We'll remember you. So yeah. Anyway, that was just my point about pressure, where I just felt that, you know, we just really couldn't handle it. But yeah, I'm hoping you're right, Ryan, that it is something that we get better at being a young team.
I was going to say, but we are a young team, and that back half,
that's
very young.
Babies.
That's exactly it. And if you look at Collingwood again, back to that example, they still rely so heavily on guys like on older heads, guys like Pendlebury, who's obviously incredible leader, like your Darcy Moores, like Jeremy Howe when he's there, side bottom, all of those blokes. And the reality is that we've got Dyson Heppel. And that's about it.
Yeah.
Like, there's a massive gap between.
He can't put pressure on because he can't move.
And Phillips, who's a journeyman ruckman, and then Shield, who doesn't play in the back half.
Can we talk about Shield's bump?
Yeah. Well, we'll talk some goods.
Hot.
Oh,
yeah.
How good.
So good.
That was pure footy.
That was so good.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah. Like, I know his opponent was, you know, really impactful and one of the best for the game. But yeah, I thought Shield was definitely one of our better players for the day.
Shield was very good.
Yeah.
Putting together a really good year.
Really good
I
year.
feel like he's, I know he's going to come out and have an absolute shocker on Saturday night, now that I say this, but I feel like his kicking has been a lot better.
Yeah.
Especially kicking in the forward line.
On both feet as well.
Yeah.
He
he's hitting
kicked
targets.
the ball to
Langford at the start.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
basically
it was great.
such a good kick. It was an uncontested mark. So
Yeah.
And that is why I can understand why they've been playing him a bit more in a forward role.
Yeah.
But still got to try and compete in the air.
I think like the way I see him and his profile is that he's a centre bounce clearance work kind of player, and his explosive pace. So he's got to create those opportunities by winning his own ball and then breaking away from the pack. So yeah, again, I don't know. I don't mind the idea of trying Setterfield up forward, giving his height. Maybe he tries to rotate more. I don't know. But yeah.
And I guess it depends on who we're playing as well.
I'm definitely booing Jason Horne-Francis next time we play him.
We're playing at the G in I don't know how long. Why?
The G?
He's the
Why?
biggest flog I've ever seen in my life. Like, I was completely anti-boo before this game. And then the way he acted, like, towards Hobbsy and just the fact that he ducks every time he gets the ball.
The whole Port team ducks.
Yeah. Like, they're like the Western Bulldogs from, well, basically for the last 10 years.
Don't worry. We don't need to boo Jay.
I'm
We don't
booing the shit out of him.
I'm also booing him.
I'll stop booing him when he stops ducking.
Please save
What
all
a
your...
pathetic way to play football.
Please.
Like, to fucking
Don't tell us who we can and can't boo.
Let me
drop
finish.
like a. I'm not going to boo Buddy. That's disgraceful.
Yeah, that. Never
I'm
boo.
booing JHF.
Let me just say, save your boos for Willie Rioli when we play them at the G. I think that's fair.
These
enough.
aren't mutually exclusive.
Yes, no.
Okay.
Yeah. You can boo, Players who are dogs, players used to play for your club, and if their last name is Burns, that's who you can boo. So
And Caro.
and Cara.
And, yeah.
Yeah, she hasn't
Michael
played AFL.
Christian.
Boo Michael Christian.
Anyone who supports Carlton.
More aren't they going well? Let's more goods. I mean, it's kind of good and bad. Like, I thought both Parrish and Merrett were really good, but I also thought at times they were really, really bad at just their ball use. Like they were winning so much footy and doing so many right things, but then they're also
They were bad when they should have been good, when it
Yeah.
was uncontested,
Zach
easy
did my head
handballs,
in a few
easy
times.
kicks.
yeah.
But yes, they were a big reason as to why we played well and got the ball forward.
Yeah.
I thought Parrish was good.
Yeah. Zach 43% by foot for him.
That's crazy.
Very low.
10 tackles, but
10 tackles. We love that.
Yeah, it's good.
We can't fault them. Like, this is the thing. You can't fault the team on their effort in that game. Like, everyone put in.
we're 16th in the comp for tackles this year. So
Oh, well.
Blame them
I'll
all.
find fault where I want to, Rob.
Oh, fun. Yeah, well, I mean, if we've got the ball like we did in the first few games, it's hard to tackle. But anyway, tackles inside 50, I think, is the important one because they had
And
heaps.
Where do we rank with that stuff?
I haven't checked. Mert's our stats man, so where do they
Mert?
rank Mert?
Oh, 0. Depends who you are.
What else is good?
Oh, let's talk about the weed.
Weed?
The weed.
Very good.
I'm really happy that he's
He kicks
putting
straight.
Can mark, can kick so far.
putting together a nice patch of footy. Like, obviously, awesome to get 5 goals against the Cats. But I think he would be riding a nice wave of confidence at the moment.
Yeah.
Which is awesome to
Shows
see.
you what a bit of confidence
yeah,
does.
exactly.
Especially for those, young tall forwards. I know he's
Yeah.
not that young anymore, but
I'll tell you what I was thinking about though. Watching that game, there was a moment where I sat there and go, fingers crossed, everyone's fit and healthy. But round 1, 2024, forward line: Peter Wright, Wiedemann, Kyle Langford, Paco floating out of the centre bounds. That looks pretty good to me.
And Harry Himmelberg.
And you want Harry Himmelberg, do you?
Fuck it.
What, at full back?
Get him in wherever.
Is he available?
Yep.
Okay.
He's out of contract.
and hot too.
He's out of contract. Harry Himmelberg. Interesting.
Yeah.
Um,
Only want him if he grows his hair long again.
Okay. But my point, though, those 3 guys who are contracted to Essendon,
Yep.
I think would be really good.
Really do miss Peter.
Mate,
It sucks.
really do miss Peter. Is Kyle Langford the most improved player in the list?
In the AFL.
BZT.
You reckon BZT is more
Over
improved?
what period are you talking about?
This
I think
season.
From
round 1 to round 8.
I think
Cole's been there for a while.
Nah, but we've never had this consistency. I think Langford's just above BZT.
Is he leading the Crichton?
No.
Or who is then?
Darcy.
You're in Darcy?
Darcy's been
I
dominating.
think
No, he's definitely
Or
up there.
Shield could be up there.
I think
The Crichton's
Darcy, Shield. I mean,
Setterfield started red hot.
Merrett, Paco. Paco's had
Paco missed the first 3 games.
Yeah.
he's had three or four close to best ons for
Yep.
us.
I think BZT deserves a bit of credit. I know it was
Tough day for him.
another hard task, and I know he was responsible for a few pretty bad turnovers. But man, the
I
kid
think
just
Martin would be up there too.
the kid just keeps on going.
Did well, and I think those turnovers exiting the defensive 50, he was under so much duress. So
Yeah, and I think if he's got guys like Ridley to rely on in those situations as well, he's probably kind of giving the hands a little bit more.
Yeah, well, you're missing hearing the communication from Ridley basically telling you where to go. But BZT's done well. He's had probably the toughest two-week period for someone his frame.
Yep. He's about to have a third.
With a head-to-head matchup wise, but I think he's half a chance of performing pretty well against Joe.
Yeah, exactly. And, I had this conversation with Jesse last week, but every great fullback has had a fair few baths by big forwards when they were young.
Including yourself.
Including myself. Yep. I got bashed by every Division 3 forward there was. And generally, at that grade, the guy who played full forward was always the biggest bloke on the ground. Generally, like 6'5", 130 kilos. Most of them nicknamed Plugger.
Yeah, and never left the square.
Never left the goal square. And poor me, they're like, all right, yeah, Rob, you got to go on, number 48 or whatever it is. And then, I'd outmark Plugger a few times, get around and jump, but then be a few times where Plugger would just push me away and just, kick a snag. And Plugger was always incredibly fast over a short distance, which I could never understand. Anyway, that's my terrible.
Once they get going, they're hard to stop.
Yeah, that's my terrible footballing career. Any more goods and or bads you would like to flag, gentlemen, before we move on?
Davey needs to just go back to the VFL and stay there until he's knocking the door down, I think.
Yeah, I think he's had a good run, and
but
he's
also
probably.
Whilst I say that, bring him in for Dreamtime.
Yeah, I was about to say, bring him in for Dreamtime.
Yeah,
so he's got 1 week off.
Yeah. He's.
Or do we just a bit of continuity with him?
It's just hard. Like he's
been in out.
Snelling
it's probably
was
not the best thing.
Yeah,
Snelling had 19.
I for that very reason, I question why we decided to drop him and bring in Snelling and then drop Snelling
and bringing him back.
Yeah,
yeah. Okay.
I guess they're just
continuity is.
They're just trying things out. I mean, I don't know.
Like you got to give both of them a run of a few games, I reckon. Or either of them a run of a few games.
You're obviously going to miss a lot of physicality by playing Davey over Snelling, and in a game like that, I was probably like, gee, maybe he would have been the better player, but I mean, I guess you just don't know coming into it, like how the game's going to pan out. And Davey's incredibly skillful, as we know, and he's a great, promising young talent. But look, sometimes players do need a spell. But yeah, we'll see where their head's at for this week up in Brisbane.
Maybe the lack of badge is getting to his head.
It could be the lack of badge.
It is frustrating that.
Yeah. I'm
bullshit.
I'm waiting for the photos when they arrive from all the fans.
Archie's goal was pretty mint.
Both goals were great.
Very sexy.
Both goals were great. Showing again what he's best at is when he's actually got the ball in his hands.
Yeah.
Serious composure from a young kid, and could develop into something really special down the line.
Hope so.
Like he's clearly got it on the outside. If he gets a bit more ball playing, maybe in the middle at one stage, who knows? But yeah, he's been awesome.
I want to go back about 35 minutes, Rob, and we're talking about how many midfielders we have.
Oh yeah, sure.
What happens when Sardis is fit?
Which is coming up because he'll be fit in about a month.
It'll be next year, boys. That's a great question. I don't know. I genuinely
from
don't know.
what I understand, he's genuinely a sole midfielder.
Yeah, all he does is
maybe a wing.
All he does is accumulate.
Yeah, he's like a 35 touch a game kind of midfielder. So
back pocket.
We're not complaining about it. We just
back pocket.
Who knows?
5 weeks, it says here.
He's pretty big as well. He's like 190, 191.
Yeah, around about that.
5 weeks. So I don't reckon we're going to see him anytime soon, fellas.
5 weeks.
4 weeks.
That'll come around quickly.
Peter's still 10 weeks away. That sucks.
Has that been updated?
No, this is last week's. They do update on Tuesdays.
Can you just run through it?
Sure. So I would love it if they put this in order of availability.
By the way, Harry Jones is on that now too.
Harry Jones.
Do we know that?
Yeah, so Harry Jones hurt his back, which we heard over the weekend.
Which is really good.
Probably another stress fracture knowing our history with that. So,
yeah,
who knows how long that is. If
the
you're
ghosts of Crowy past,
just will not go away.
To answer your question, Ryan.
Yes, continue. Injury list.
So Guelphy 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Nick Cox 4 weeks.
12.
Sardis 5. I mean, Durham's suspension will back next week. Laverty 6 to 7.
Far out.
Peter Wright
Jesus.
10 weeks. Jaden Davies season. And our favourite James Stewart no longer on planet Earth. I did love how they addressed that in a video.
They did.
Away without leave.
Yep.
They did.
That
was very funny.
Yet to see a photo. Yet to see evidence that he's still on the planet. So yet to have proof. I'm sorry.
He's in a bomb shelter somewhere.
Laverde out for 6 to 7.
He's on the Mars
so
rover.
long.
That's where he is. Yeah. 6-7 Laverde kills.
Baldwin needs to come in. Immediate impact.
But I'll be very interested to hear what Paul says later about Baldwin because
we played him
played him up forward just because we like fucking with players.
Yeah.
So kicked 2 goals, had I think 17 disposals and 7 marks. So it's not a bad outing, but yeah, what to do. Do you gentlemen want to listen to some hot takes?
Yes.
Are we at that point in the show?
Better be good.
There was a lot this week, a lot to go through.
I really bemoan the fact that we didn't go to Adelaide again, Rob.
Yeah, it would have been fun.
We could have just stayed there.
It would have been fun. Thank you everyone who sent these through. There were some that were very entertaining, but were so rude I could never play them.
Can you send those to us just privately?
Sure. There was one that I think every second word was F, and I'm okay with a few F-bombs in this segment, but there was a point where I'm like, this is just a bit gratuitous now. So I
love gratuity here.
Yeah, we love gratuity. Love the passion. We love you all. But just got to remember that I can't play some of these. So
if you want to swear at us, just do it to our faces.
Yeah, come to the game and
see us at the game. Just come up and swear at us.
Yeah, that's what Mert likes.
Yeah,
Mert does like.
Genuinely, he would love that.
All right, hot takes. Thank you, everyone. Language warning for those who don't like swear words. First one is from Rem. Thank you, Rem.
Hey, boys. What the fuck? You got Phillips, who marks the ball with a minute to go, 55 metres out, and he's kicking into the fucking wind, and there's not one fucking Bombers player at the goal line to mark the fucking ball. Surely, as a Bombers player, you would know that Phillips ain't going to kick a goal 55 metres out into the fucking wind. Fucking hell, Bombers. Go to Plains.
Thank you, Rem.
Not wrong.
Very passionate there. Yeah, I looked back at it today. Draper is there, but he was way behind the ball. I think he was gassed as well.
He ran so far to get to that.
Was Weed there?
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
To the people at the pub who started celebrating.
Oh, my God.
Mert and I were the only ones who were just like, nah, that's not going to make the distance.
I was like, no, stop.
And then it changed the camera angle and it was 15 metres short.
Shades of, oh, God.
What game was it?
It was against Carlton in lockdown. Oh, my God. What's his name? He used to play for GWS and then Richmond.
Oh, Jacob Townsend.
Yeah, it was Shades of Townsend.
Oh,
Shades of Townsend.
Wasn't it?
I watched that at the pub that game with some Carlton friends. And it was that we were up and about celebrating, and then they cut to the goal line, and it's just like, boop, touch, they win. Anyway. Next one is from, who I got here?
Give me PTSD. Fuck.
Ethan. Thank you, Ethan.
Boys, honestly, the AFL just needs like a similar system to the soccer has, where it's like a red card, yellow card, all that, because honestly, it just happens too often where a player either, one, concusses or injures someone, then they go on to be the best on ground and win the game for the team by under the point. Take the Geelong-Richmond game, for example. Last year, Tom Stewart knocks out Prestia. Geelong win by under a goal, and Stewart was best on ground, and from my memory, got the 3 votes. So, yeah, and similar to this scenario, Rioli concusses Ridley, broke his jaw as well. And Rioli goes on to kick the winning goal. Not to mention that Ridley was of our key defenders as well. And if we had him for the rest of the game, we probably should have won it. So, yeah, it's just really fucking unfortunate. And I just really hope that Rioli fucking enjoys his 4-week holiday, the dog. And not to mention, I just wonder, anytime Finlayson is playing the fucking dog, if he just remembers, man, I love my one disposal performance in the 2019 Grand Final, honestly. All those players, Dixon, fucking JHF. I don't care about the whole leaving Victoria shit. He just looks like a shit bloke. They can all get a fucking dog up you. You all fucking deserve it. Fuck Port.
That was a perfect.
That was great.
That summed up everything I was thinking post game.
Finlayson.
The Finlayson point was
Finlayson
so key.
He did have, in fairness to Finlayson, he had 2 in the grand final.
I thought it was 1.
No, he had 2 disposals.
Oh, no,
1 kick.
The soccer card, yellow card, red card thing. It's funny because I thought about it yesterday. Yes, it makes sense, but let's stop ruining the tradition and the rules of the game.
Yeah.
But yeah, it would have been nice if Rioli was on the bench.
Red card.
So I got a couple of points on that. One, I'll never go back on Richmond actually losing a game like they did to Geelong last year in a final. So pretty happy with that result. So that's one of the reasons why I wouldn't change that rule. 2, instead of changing the rule, I'd rather that we just maximise it for our own benefit and we have, at least a couple of players who just go around whacking people every week.
Yeah.
And taking out their best players. Because for that, like going on from that, I think one thing that really annoyed me, and it's something that we haven't seen at our club for a long time, is the fact that no one even remonstrated with him. Like it was...
I can't recall seeing any.
No. Yeah.
But it was pretty close to the play. Like it was just downfield from where that rat JHF was kicking it.
Yeah.
So,
I feel like Laverty would have if he was playing and was,
he should have just smashed him.
Yeah. It's not a nice act, but he can enjoy a few cones on his break, I reckon.
Getting back to the card situation. Also don't have faith in the umpires making the right call. Because they suck already.
Yeah, we saw what Ray did.
Get the VAR out. Yeah.
I did previously hear years ago that we should get the benefit of Rioli missing a game. Like if we play them later in the year, he should miss a game against us.
Interesting. That's an interesting
Or
idea.
if we play them next year, see you later.
Interesting.
Go pack your
So
billy.
you as the club can choose what games they miss.
Well, if it's a 3-week one, that makes it hard. But if it's a 1 week,
interesting.
Next time you play us.
Interesting idea. Not sure if it'll stick, but it's an interesting idea. That
you should get the most benefit out of it.
One.
Yeah. And make him smoke all of his cones
He'd
immediately
kick like 14
before
goals.
playing us.
Yeah.
He'd kick the all-time greatest haul.
Yeah. Next one's from
Make him OD on his cones.
I'm not sure if that's possible. The next one's from Lurker. Thanks, Lurker.
Periods of poor Plains play permits Port Power pretenders to prevail. Pricks.
Short and to the point.
It's great.
Short and to the
He's-
point.
His voice is almost up there with the guy who does like the previews on Grand Final Day and Anzac Day.
It's pretty good. See, because Lurker keeps them short and tight, I'm always going to play them because they're just great.
Yeah.
So, listeners, if you're thinking about why yours sometimes don't get played, think about what does get played. So, anyway.
Lurker's a great name too.
Lurker is a great name. Lurker is a great name. Next one's from Stewie 2K. Thank you, Stewie.
Willie Rioli, bin. Razor Ray, bin. Mac Welfie's hamstring, bin. Reed's hamstring, bin. Harry Jones' back, bin. Peter Wright's shoulder, bin. Laverte's shoulder, bin. James Stewart's foot. I'd put it in the bin if we knew where the fuck it was. Has anyone actually seen a photo of Stewart at the club? Are they hiding him because his fucking foot got amputated or something? Oh, we're taking our time bringing players back. We want them to play for 10 years. And then fucking Reed doesn't even last 10 minutes in the VFL. Fuck me.
The Reed thing's so
It's so disappointing. Like, it is the absolute kick you while you're on the ground for all Essendon supporters. Like, oh, well, at least we'll get to see Reedy, in the side next week. And then it's just like, yeah, he didn't get through the game. It's like,
It's literally, like I know what said, it's Scott Gumbleton.
yeah, we're getting in those areas. And it's really disappointing to say. It's really disappointing to say, but we're starting to get close to that territory, which we don't want. We don't want that at all. Like, we want to see him play.
Get him in the pool, maybe.
Swimming.
Yeah.
With you.
Not with me, no. Just get him in the pool.
Get him in the pool.
Yeah.
Next one is from Port Adelaide's greatest fund.
Finlayson, dog. Pal Pepper, dog. Dixon, dog. Archie Perkins. Fuck, he's so hot. Fuck.
There's definitely a theme with this week's ones. A lot of dog.
They are a bit of a dog side.
They are.
Dog club.
Yeah, they've got some blokes who just, they're dogs. as you
Oh, they
said.
got some great players. like-
Absolutely, I mean, Rosie and Butters, man.
Yeah,
love what they're
and just
phenomenal,
tough as
phenomenal.
nails. Those blokes, like
They all are.
pretty little
Got,
kids,
got,
but
got respect for Boke.
yeah,
Yeah. Oh, they've got a lot of great players, but yeah. What else have I got here? Gee, there's so many of these I can't play. Dog of the week. Thanks, Dog of the week.
Hey, Willie, don't you think we don't know what you're up to, mate? Looking to get an extra long buy so you can go suck on a few Gatorade bongs, you deadbeat. That's my boy Ridley.
That was perfect. That added all.
Oh man, there's a lot of editing. It's going to have to happen after this.
yeah.
Nah,
We're,
keep that one in.
There we go, boys. That was hot takes. What's left of it,
Basically, just an abused Willie Rioli.
and that's the ones I didn't
Yeah.
play you, and that's the you should have heard some of the other ones. Luckily, didn't get any too bad areas, but yeah, they definitely pushed the line this week.
Yeah.
So, thanks everyone for letting me know your thoughts. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I think we're going to take a break, and we'll come back and we'll chat with Paul about all things VFL.
Let's do it.
After this. This halftime break is brought to you by Liquorland. Pop into your local Liquorland today and pick up all your favourite drinks, like the classic Victoria Bitter Bottle, available in 6-packs or slabs of 24. Mert, I know you love a VB stubby.
Absolutely, Rob. They call it the very best for one reason only.
Well, they are the very best. Liquorland have all your drink needs for when the siren calls. Liquorland, from the land you love. Please drink responsibly. Welcome back. It is that time on a Monday evening where we chat with our great friend Paul Cousins for the VFL Wrap. Paul, where in this sunny Australia are you today?
I'm in a lovely little spot, lads, called Agnes Water,
Ooh.
just sort of central Queensland coast. So camped on the beach and, not doing it that hard, I have to say.
We're very jealous.
So jealous.
Yeah, very, very,
Sorry.
very jealous, Paul.
Sorry about that. But the holiday is coming to an end soon. So, soon I'll be down there in the grey coldness with you all.
Yeah.
Back to the darkness.
That'll make you happy, won't it?
It will.
I'll be miserable and cold. And,
Yeah. Just like us.
Well, I'm going to lap it up in the meantime, guys.
No, I think you've earned it, mate. Casting our eyes onto this weekend's game, the VFL boys had Werribee visit the hangar, but it was a tough afternoon for the Dons.
It was, yeah. It was a tough afternoon for everyone. I think the wind was sort of howling to one end. It was a genuine sort of 4 or 5 goal breeze, I think, and we kicked with it in the first quarter and probably didn't quite take our chances. Like we got a few goals up and or sort of 20 odd points up, but sort of missed a few easy chances and didn't convert some other times. When we had inside 50s and stuff, probably our shot selection, if you like, our shots on goal were not ideal. We it sort of happens a bit when there's a win like that. Guys tend to get a bit caught up with, geez, I can kick this from 60, that sort of thing, rather than people lowering eyes and taking really good options. And we sort of got punished for that a little bit when the ball, when the after quarter time, when the Werribee guys got the win behind them, they probably used it a little bit better, converted a little bit better. And we were, a couple of goals down from sort of that point on from, half-time-ish, and unfortunately could just never quite bridge that gap. I mean, we got back to about level terms, I think, at 3/4 time, but that was a little bit of a false dawn given that they were coming home with the howling wind in the last quarter. So, yeah, a bit of a shame. We certainly we were competitive, but there were a few missed opportunities early, I think.
Yeah, slightly disappointing, but some other disappointing news, Paul, was Zach Reid having to come off in the first quarter with rumoured to be a hamstring complaint. Can you shed some more light on that?
Yeah, I think he came off at half time. I think he played the whole first half. I don't I haven't spoken to Zach or anyone officially involved, so I don't sort of have any more news for you guys, really.
Yep.
Other than to know that, he had a bit of an issue there. So I think everyone's waiting on scans and, waiting to see what the news is there. But obviously, given the sort of, the lack of tall defenders that we've got at the moment, and the fact that he's such a talented one, and obviously I think would have probably come in for Reds. Given that situation, it's I'm sure it's pretty frustrating for everyone involved. He'd been pretty good too, Reedy. He looked pretty rusty the week before. He'd done some good things, but looked a bit rusty in his first game back. But I thought he looked better yesterday and was moving pretty well and playing pretty well. So I'm sure everyone's really disappointed. No one more so than him.
Yeah, correct. And you touched on those keys, Paul, and certainly the issue in, I guess, numbers of keys that we have. Kane Baldwin is one who has been playing down back for most of the season. I understand on the weekend he actually played a bit of time up forward as well as a bit of time down back. Kicked a couple of goals. How did you see his game?
Yeah, I thought it was his best game for a while, Baldus. He did kick a couple of goals, you're right. One of them was from the 50, so I think he was still actually playing back at that stage. But he did go forward a bit in the second half when I think when we had the win. I think the coaches sort of, knew we're a few goals down and threw a bit of caution to the wind, pardon the pun, and threw him forward to see if he could generate some scores for us, and he was able to, as you said, kick a goal. He's pretty good down back early as well, and I think he was playing sensational footy early in the year, Balders, and then had a concussion and missed a couple of weeks, and probably just came back a little bit rusty. Just struggled a bit his first game or two back, and so I think he probably turned the corner a bit again on the weekend and played pretty well. So I'm sure he's someone that will come into discussions. When you're looking at tall defenders over the whole of the year, I'd say he's actually been really good. He had a couple of down weeks after his concussion, but I thought it was his best game since coming back from that, I thought, on the weekend. So that's good and good timing for him.
Do you think then, off the back of that performance, given he did spend a bit of time up forward, as we said, do you think he is kind of the logical next one in line, or do you think it might be, obviously a bit of a different position, but a Montgomery is kind of a third tall, or, is Lewis Hayes, do you think, ready for a crack at the big time?
It's a fascinating question, isn't it? Because you got to go horses for courses a bit, and we're playing Brisbane, who have got two absolute behemoths in Joe and Hipwood, who are both, absolutely massive from a height standpoint, which is where Reedy was the logical choice. Thatch obviously will take one, but, which way do you go? Balders is a huge body and big guy, but he's not as tall as some of these key defenders are. Likewise, Monty, who's smaller again. Not small by any stretch, but certainly not Hipwood tall. Or Joe, for that matter. So, I'll be fascinated with which way they go. I really can't pick it, to be honest. Do they go with someone like a Kyle Langford maybe and try and, hurt a Hipwood or someone the other way? Do they try and sort of mix and match and play a bit of an interceptor in front of them? Or, I'll be fascinated, because there's some weeks you'd be okay, like bring in a young, tall key defender and give him a crack. And then there's weeks when you play Joe Danaher and Eric Hipwood up on the Gabba, where, they're very, because they're both so big and so commanding in the air, it can be a little bit of a lambs to the slaughter type situation, playing a really young bloke in that. In a game like that. So you want to do that? Do you want to sort of back in your system a little bit and go a little bit unorthodox and, play a 6'3", 6'4" guy and try and bring in an interceptor, or, a sort of third up kind of role? I don't know. I don't envy the coaches on a week like this, because there's really not an obvious answer there. which way to go, and simply saying, let's bring in Monty. Well, to be honest, Monty's been really good, and I thought he was really good again on the weekend, but he doesn't really match up on either of those guys. Like he's very much have they got another mid-sized forward who they need to match up on? Does he need to go to a Gunston, or does he, and do you want to put a first game kid against someone with the sort of footy smarts of a Gunston type? There's no easy answers really.
Yeah.
I hate to. You thought I was going to bring you flowers and sunshine, but I didn't. I hate to burst a bubble. It's a really tricky sort of.
I was just more hoping that you weren't going to sit on the fence again, Paul.
Yeah. Well, I did. That's what I'm here for, boys. Professional fence sitter. No. I just I'll be really interested to see. The one thing Brisbane are with that sort of forward group in particular is they're really experienced and pretty smart. They're not a forward group that sort of tends to blast you off the park with raw power or whatever. They tend to, your Gunstons and your Baileys and these sort of guys, they're really smart footballers. They use the footy really intelligently. And your natural instinct is let's get some experienced bodies in there and try to match up with the footy smarts. And does that sort of lend itself to playing a first game kid? I don't know, throw them and give them a crack, I guess. But I would imagine Baldwin will come into calculations. Maybe they go left field and go with Cam McBride. So all right, you play just a super defensive role on a hip foot. Because he's extremely tall, Cam, and match up that way. He's missed some footy himself this year, and obviously he's yet to make his debut. So that'd be a big ask as well. But I'll be fascinated. I'll be as interested as all the listeners in which way they end up deciding to go. That's for sure.
Changing tact a little bit, Paul. I just wanted to ask you about Tex Wanganeen. We've seen a lot of our young small forwards getting games in the seniors, but Tex has been playing predominantly in the VFL. We know prior to this season he had pretty interrupted history, being a young Victorian through COVID era and all that sort of stuff. How's his VFL life been so far this year?
I thought he was pretty good on the weekend, actually. Tex, he's one who just it's a matter of finding enough footy, and that's not unusual for a guy who, as you say, has had a pretty interrupted sort of end of his junior career, and for various reasons just hasn't played a whole heap of footy, and then obviously missed a lot of footy last year with injury as well. So for him, I think the main thing is really building a base of just finding footy and understanding where to go and how to involve himself in the game all the time, because it's he was really low possession when he played a few AFL games last year, but he was able to impact once or twice. If you're going to be low possession has got to be huge impact possessions. And so for him, I think it's really just probably getting the possession count up a bit, from the sort of 10s and 12s and those sort of numbers up into the mid and high teens, I think, to allow himself more of an opportunity to impact the game, because he's got beautiful skills and he's incredibly smart, really thinks his way through the game, and works hard to involve teammates and, all those things he does really well. But he probably just really needs to find the footy a bit more. And to be honest, that really just comes with games, I think. So I'd say his development is coming along pretty well. I know, because he burst onto the scene a little bit early last year, and obviously, Bomber supporters are pretty familiar with his last name and the family history and all that. And I think it's a lot expected of him. But, at the end of the day, he's a young kid who's finding his way and really just trying to develop as a footballer. And I think when you look at it in that context, and rather than the son of a gun kind of context, I think he's coming on well and showing some really good signs. He's dynamite around goals. He really is, and he's got an incredible goal sense and a great ability to finish around goals. So, if we can get the footy in his hands 15, 16 times a game, rather than your sort of 10 or 12, and I say that, and he's probably had 15 or 16 on the weekend. I've looked at the stats. But, I think if he can consistently just find a bit more ball, A, that's going to be good for him individually, but B, that's going to be really good for the team as well, because he's a guy whose hands you really want the footy in.
Definitely. And a last one from me, Paul. We haven't mentioned the VFLW girls at all this year, and they're 7 rounds into the season, 4 wins, 2 losses, and a draw. I know you're not able to make all of the games, but what have you seen from the girls so far, and how do you think they're all going?
Their last month's been sensational, hasn't it? I think they're 4 in a row now, from memory. Yep. They had a little bit of a shaky start to the year after a lot of change in the off-season, but including sort of coaches, really everyone involved, well, not everyone, but a lot of people involved in that program have changed over. Having now had an AFLW program, the focus on the VFLW sort of shifts slightly and into a bit of a development space, and rather than that all-out attack on the VFLW flag that we probably had last year. So they've, after a slightly slow start, they've really found their feet the last month and played terrific footy. Hand on my heart, I haven't seen their last 2 games, but obviously I've checked in on the scores. And great to see some good wins from the girls, and Trav Cloak's obviously doing a good job down there along with everyone else. They're looking ominous after. I think everyone probably breathed a sigh of relief when we lost a game or 2 early, because we hadn't lost in such a long time. They'd gone over a season without, went all of last year undefeated. So everyone probably thought that we were on the way down, but then, we've won 4 in a row. I think, I haven't got it in front of me, but I'm pretty sure it was Southern Saints we beat on the weekend, who we played in the grand final last year. So I might be completely wrong. Listeners, just write in and abuse me or whatever, leave a message. And
we normally filter out all those emails abusing you, Paul.
Yeah.
Well, you can send them on to me. That's always good. But,
you don't want to see them, trust me.
So we've beaten a few quality teams in recent times, and clearly have got it together. I think Courtney Ugle and Merrett Clifford are leading that team really well, and as I said, Trav Cloak and obviously my old mate Katie Leo, who's the president down there, are all doing a really good job. So long may it continue.
Now, the Essendon VFL boys are playing Brisbane on Sunday in Brisbane at 12:05 p.m. at Brighton Homes Arena. Paul, you will be in attendance. Hopefully,
I will.
A great opportunity for our Brisbane and Southeast Queensland-based Essendon supporters to get down and watch another game of Don's footy.
I want to touch on that. I really reckon it is. I remember my first few years when I was on the board of the club, and then in this role early on. I used to speak a lot to sort of a lot of our supporters in the northern states, and in particular, who were always flat and they never got to see any VFL footy. So it's a great opportunity for a lot of expat Vics live up in Queensland. So hopefully, a lot of them, along with a lot of our Queensland supporters, of which I know we've got a lot, and get along on Sunday. I think, as you said, it's at the Lions home base at Springfield there, and nice sort of family-friendly time slot at 12 o'clock on Mother's Day. But anyway, hopefully there's a few mums out there who like the Bombers and want to get along. But if any of the listeners do get along, and you see a slightly roundish bloke who looks like he's a Victorian, come and say hello.
Beautiful, Paul. Very, very generous with your time as always. Enjoy your time in Agnes Waters up there in Queensland, and we'll speak to you next week.
Thank you, boys. Off to Fraser Island in the next couple of days.
Stop
so if I don't get stuck in the sand, I'll be at the footy on Sunday.
I'm writing an email right now.
I'm gonna go to the servo in the rain after this. So
I'm expecting some abuse, but I'm okay with it.
All good. Thanks, Paul.
Cheers, Paul.
Thanks, boys. Cheers.
There we go, boys. Paul, amazing as always. I was actually looking up Agnes Waters while we're on that chat there. According to Wikipedia, Agnes Waters has a significantly high proportion of hospitality services per capita to meet the demand of the local visitors. So I think Paul's going to be pretty well looked after up there.
Jealous.
You jealous?
I knew there would be a reason why it was there.
The hospitality. Yeah. I've never been up there. I mean, I've been to Northern Queensland, but not to that part of Queensland.
Yeah.
It's pretty nice.
Yeah.
Pretty nice. Any final thoughts, boys? Anything you want to address? Anything you want to discuss? Goods, bads, uglies? Anything else?
20 questions?
I haven't got one prepared. We can do one.
No.
I haven't got one.
Nah, Mert doesn't want to do one.
No, Mert's ready for bed, 8:30.
Got to go home and have dinner.
Yeah,
I'm starving.
We all have to go home and have dinner. Gents, thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having us.
Listeners, Thursday premium podcast with our preview of the Brisbane game. I believe Jesse and Joel on. Maybe
I think
it's
that's
Jesse,
right.
Jesse and Joel, or maybe it's Jesse and Damo. Smart Damo might be coming on, which is always good.
Oh,
The bar will be raised. When
might actually listen to that one.
The bar is always raised when Smart Damo gets involved. If he is on, I need to double check.
That'd be good.
Who is it?
Don't tell them or else they won't be premium members.
Who is it? According to this, it's Jesse and Giles. There we go.
Now, no way am I listening to that. Then.
Next week though. I mean, it's so funny. I stick Ollie and King on the roster and just see if they respond. Nah,
I can guarantee you one thing.
King on Smart Damo. But anyway, listeners, Thursday premium podcast. You can sign up to that. Support the show, $4.99 a month or $42 for the whole year. You get an extra show every week. That's it. Extra show every week during the season, and there will be some stuff in the off season as well, which I'm organising thus far, which is important to look after all the great people.
I know we got some special guests coming up too, Rob.
We do have some special guests coming up. Do we? I don't know.
We do.
We do have some special guests coming up. Should actually be getting another player from the club soon, which is going to be North. So we'll see who that's going to be.
Rumour is might be Paco.
Could be Paco. Might not be. I asked for him. Probably won't be.
There is a rumour.
Did you ask for Peter?
I asked for many players. Paco was the top of the list. So that's all I'll say. We'll see what we get.
Can't wait to drop competingness to him.
He'll be like, what does that mean? I don't know what you're talking about. Anyway.
He remembers me from the airport.
Yeah. Do you remember the bloke who couldn't speak that came and asked you for a photo?
Yeah. Hey, Paco, I love you. I'm wearing your T-shirt.
Yeah. Speaking of T-shirts, if you want to get a T-shirt, a hoodie or anything else, get on the merch store, buy stuff there. Go Plains scarves still in stock.
Oh, they're still in stock.
Scarves are in stock. Beanies currently sold out.
Hats?
But on the way. Should be here in the next week.
En route.
En route as well.
Stubby holders en route.
Stubby holders are en route, as are the caps. Which
mugs?
Mugs are still there. They've always been there.
Baby onesies?
Baby onesies
They're
are always
still
there.
Fuck yeah.
Still baby onesies.
Now we're talking.
I feel like everyone knows having a baby. That's what I need to start buying is more
There are
Dons.
that many babies around at the moment.
Almost too
It's
many.
a fucking pandemic.
Baby pandemic.
It's a fucking disgrace.
So
You're next, mate.
Yeah.
I am not.
Yes, you are.
I'll give you the red hot. I'm not.
You are.
That's not what you said yesterday.
You are next, mate. So baby onesie.
I've still got a baby bonus going around or what?
Baby onesie coming Mert's way, along with a few other things.
Don't get me on board.
Is there anything else do I have to plug? No, that's it. That's it. Thank you as always. Love you all. Go Plains. Till then, bye.
Up the Dons.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The Sash, and thanks to Liquorland, who are proud partners of the show. Liquorland, have all your drink needs for when the siren calls. Liquorland, from the land you love. Please drink responsibly.